He wondered if he would ever stop feeling lonely. He wondered if his 2 weeks had passed since Daeho's first lecture. His classes had settled into a routine. Students still seemed nervous around him, but at least they stayed in their seats now. A few even asked questions without looking terrified. It was late evening when the alarm started. Daeho was in his quarters reviewing student papers on his tablet. The sound was loud and sharp, cutting through the peaceful silence like a knife. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside his door. His heart rate jumped immediately. His body remembered what to do when danger came, even if his mind wanted to stay calm. He grabbed his communication device. The screen showed an emergency alert. Unknown vessel approaching Kepler 7 station. All personnel report to designated safe zones. This is not a drill. Daeho ran toward the security center instead. He knew Commander Ha would be there. She would have information. She would know what was happening. The corridors were full of panicking aliens. They rushed in all directions, their voices high with fear. Daeho had to push through the crowd. Several Velnar nearly trampled each other trying to get to the emergency shelters. The Quillix flew overhead in confused circles, bumping into ceiling panels. When Daeho reached the security center, he found chaos. Dozens of security officers crowded around holographic displays. Most of them were Velnar or other peaceful species. They looked lost. They had trained for emergencies, but this was something different. Commander Hajiwan stood at the center console, her face hard and focused. Next to her was Chief Security Officer Peln, a tall Velnar with brown fur. Peln looked terrified. "What is the situation?" Daeho asked, moving to Ha's side. Ha glanced at him. "Unknown ship, big one. They appeared 2 hours ago at the edge of our sensor range. We have sent 17 different greetings in 17 different languages. They have not responded. Maybe their communications are broken," Peln suggested. His voice shook slightly. "We should send a diplomatic shuttle." "Make peaceful contact," Ha's jaw tightened. "I do not think that is a good idea, Chief. It is protocol," Peln said firmly. "The Galactic Council requires peaceful first contact with all new species. We must follow the law." Daeho looked at the holographic display. The unknown vessel was massive, 3 times the size of any council ship he had seen. Its shape was wrong, angular, predatory. It reminded him of a shark. "I agree with Commander Ha," Daeho said quietly. "Something feels wrong." Peln looked at him with frustration. "You are not security personnel, Dr. Kwan, and feelings are not facts. We have procedures for situations like this." Before Ha or Daeho could argue further, Peln gave the order. A small diplomatic shuttle launched from the station, heading toward the unknown vessel. 12 Velnar diplomats were on board, carrying gifts and translation devices. They believed in peace. They believed in talking. Daeho felt sick to his stomach. He watched the shuttle move across the display, a tiny dot approaching the massive ship. Ha stood rigid beside him, her hand gripping the edge of the console. The shuttle reached the unknown vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. The security center was silent except for the quiet beeping of computer systems. Then the shuttle exploded. Just like that. No warning, no communication. 1 second it was there, and the next second it was gone. 12 lives erased in a flash of light. The security center erupted in shock. Officers cried out in their various languages. Peln stumbled backward, his eyes wide with horror. He had never seen violence before. None of them had. Ha moved immediately. "Red alert," she commanded. "Get all civilian personnel to the emergency shelters. Power up whatever defensive systems this station has. Move." But the alien security officers just stood there, frozen. They did not know what to do. Their training had prepared them for accidents and malfunctions, not for war. Ha turned to her small team of human security personnel. They were already moving before she gave the order. They grabbed weapons and tactical gear. They knew exactly what to do. The unknown vessel began moving toward the station. It was not coming slowly. It was coming fast. Daeho looked at the ship's trajectory on the display. His mind worked through the pattern. The approach angle. The speed. The way it had destroyed the shuttle. This was not exploration. This was not an accident. "They are hunting," he said aloud. "What?" I looked at him sharply. "Look at the pattern," Daeho said, pointing at the display. "They destroyed the shuttle to create panic. Now they are approaching from this angle. It forces us to evacuate in one direction. They are herding us. Like wolves herd sheep." Ha stared at the display. Her expression changed. She saw it too. "That is exactly what they are doing. Chief Peln overheard them. No, you are wrong. They must be confused. If we can just communicate with them properly. The station shook. The unknown vessel had opened fire. The impact was not strong enough to breach the hull, but it was a warning. Or maybe they were testing the defenses. I am taking command of the defensive response, Ha announced. Under emergency protocols, military personnel have authority during armed conflict. Peln looked like he wanted to argue, but another impact shook the station. He nodded weakly and stepped aside. Ha activated the station-wide communication system. All human security personnel defensive positions immediately. Protect the civilian evacuation routes. Lethal force is authorized. Repeat, lethal force is authorized. The alien officers looked shocked. Lethal force was against council law except in the most extreme circumstances. But Ha was human. She understood what was happening here. Daiho, Ha said. Get to the East Evacuation Center. Help coordinate the civilian movement. Keep them calm if you can. Daiho nodded and ran. Behind him, he heard Ha giving rapid orders to her team. She sounded different now. Not angry or scared. Just focused. This was what she had trained for her entire life. The evacuation center was chaos. Hundreds of aliens crowded together, pushing toward the emergency shelters. Parents carried children. Teachers tried to keep students together. Everyone was shouting. Several small fights had broken out as people panicked. Daiho climbed onto a raised platform. Listen, he shouted. His voice carried across the crowd. Everyone turned to look at him. The human. I know you are scared, Daiho said. I am scared too. But panicking will not save us. We need to move calmly and quickly. Follow the evacuation officers. Stay together. Help each other. We will get through this. Something in his voice made them listen. Maybe it was because he was human. Maybe it was because he was calm when everything else was chaos. Whatever the reason, the crowd began to organize. The pushing stopped. People formed lines. Daiho spotted Professor Theln in the crowd. The old Velnar was helping a group of students move toward the shelter entrance. Their eyes met across the chaos. Theln nodded once, a gesture of respect. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red. An explosion echoed through the station, much closer this time. The crowd began to panic again. Daiho's communication device buzzed. It was Ha, they are boarding us. Hull breach in Section 7. We are engaging them now, what are they? Daiho asked. There was a pause. Then Ha's voice came back, tight with tension. I do not know. But they are armed. And they are good at this. The sound of weapons fire came through the communication device. Sharp cracks and electric buzzes. Then Ha's voice again. Get those civilians secured. We will hold them here as long as we can. The communication cut off. Daiho looked at the crowd of aliens around him. They were prey animals. Every single one of them. They had evolved on worlds without predators. They did not know how to fight. They did not even understand fighting, but Daiho did, and Ha did, and every other human on this station did. Because humans remembered. They remembered what it meant to be hunted. They remembered what it meant to hunt. Another explosion rocked the station closer this time. Daiho heard screaming. Not from the evacuation center, but from somewhere deeper in the station. The attackers were getting closer. He made a decision. He could not just stand here and direct traffic while people died. He was not a soldier like Ha, but he was human. That had to count for something. Daiho turned to a Velnar security officer. Keep the evacuation moving. Get everyone to the shelters. Lock the doors behind you. Where are you going? The officer asked. To help, Daiho said simply. He ran toward the sounds of fighting. His heart pounded. His hands shook. He was terrified, but deep inside, in a place he usually tried to ignore, something else woke up. Something old, something dangerous. The predator instinct. The thing that had kept his ancestors alive on a deadly world. The thing that made humans different from every other species in the galaxy. As Daiho ran through the red-lit corridors toward danger instead of away from it, he finally understood what Professor Theln had been afraid of. Not that humans were violent, but that humans could become violent so easily, that the switch from peaceful scientist to fighter could flip in an instant. They were right to be afraid, because when the moment came when danger threatened, humans did not hesitate. They did not debate. They did not try to understand their attacker's perspective. They fought back, and right now that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Quan Ho stood at the front of the lecture hall and felt 300 pairs of eyes watching him. Not all of those eyes were the same. Some had 3 pupils. Others glowed softly in colors he had never seen on Earth. A few belonged to creatures that looked like giant centaurs covered in soft fur. But they all had one thing in common. They were afraid of him. He was the first human to teach at the Velnar Institute of Galactic Biology. The building floated in space on a station called Kepler 7, and students came here from 47 different worlds. Ho had worked for 5 years to get this position. He had published 12 papers on alien life forms. He had learned 3 different alien languages. He had passed every test they gave him. But standing here now, watching his students lean slightly away from him in their seats, he wondered if any of that mattered. To them, he was not a scientist. He was a predator. Ho took a breath and smiled. He tried to make it a friendly smile. Some of the students tensed up anyway. "Good morning," he said. "I am Dr. Quan Ho. You can call me Professor Quan. I will be teaching you about comparative evolutionary biology this semester. That means we will study how different species evolved on different worlds." He pulled up a hologram showing a tree. It was an oak tree from Earth with thick branches and green leaves. The students relaxed a little. Plants were safe. Evolution happens because of environment and survival, Ho continued. Every species develops traits that help it survive. This tree has deep roots because it needs to find water. It has broad leaves to catch sunlight. Simple, right? A few students nodded. One of the Velnar students, a female with silver fur, raised her hand. Ho nodded at her. "Professor Quan," she said quietly, "may I ask a question about human evolution?" Here it comes, Ho thought. But he kept smiling. "Of course. That is what I am here for." The Velnar student shifted in her seat. "Humans say they are omnivores. That means you eat both plants and meat. But your eyes face forward. Only predators have forward-facing eyes. Prey animals have eyes on the sides of their heads to watch for danger. So why do humans have predator eyes if you are omnivores?" The lecture hall became very quiet. Every student was staring at him now. Ho could see the fear in their faces, but also curiosity. They wanted to understand, even though understanding scared them. Ho changed the hologram. Now it showed an ancient human running across a grassy plain. The human carried a spear and wore animal skins. "You are right," he said. "Humans are predators. We evolved as hunters. Our eyes face forward because we needed to judge distance when we threw spears or shot arrows. We needed depth perception to catch our prey." He could see some students moving their chairs back slightly. He continued anyway. "But we were not fast predators. We could not run like the big cats on our world. We could not fly like the eagles. Do you know how humans hunted?" No one answered. "We chased our prey until it collapsed from exhaustion," Ho said. "We call it persistence hunting. A human would pick an animal, maybe a deer or an antelope. The human would chase it. The animal would run away fast, much faster than the human. But then the animal would need to stop and rest. Humans do not need to rest as much. We can run for hours. We can run for days." He changed the hologram again. It showed a human jogging steadily under a hot sun, while a deer panted in the shade, exhausted. The human would let the animal rest for a few minutes, Ho explained. Then the human would appear again. The animal would run. The human would follow. Over and over. For hours. For a whole day. Sometimes for 2 days. Eventually the animal would be so tired it could not run anymore. Then the human would kill it. A student in the back made a sound like a whimper. Ho pretended not to hear it. Another student raised his hand. This one was from a species called the Quillix. They looked like large birds with 4 arms. "Professor Quan," the student said, "did humans only hunt animals? Or did you hunt other species too?" Ho paused. This was the question he had been dreading. But it would come up eventually. Better to face it now. "We hunted everything on our world," he said quietly. "Everything. We hunted the biggest animals. We hunted the smallest animals. We hunted in the oceans. We hunted in the forests. We hunted in the deserts. We even hunted each other." The lecture hall went completely silent. Ho looked at his students. He saw horror on their faces, but he could not stop now. Humans fought wars against other humans, tribe against tribe, nation against nation. We had territories and we defended them. We formed groups and fought other groups, sometimes for land, sometimes for resources, sometimes just because we were different from each other. "This is terrible," whispered the silver-furred Velnar student. "Yes," Deho agreed. "It was terrible. Millions of humans died in wars. We built weapons to kill each other more efficiently. We developed tactics and strategies. We studied how to fight better than any other species on Earth. We became very, very good at violence." He turned off the hologram and faced his students directly. They looked like they wanted to run away. Some of them probably did want to run. But Deho said, "Humans also learned something else. We learned that fighting all the time made everyone weak. We learned that working together made us strong. Slowly, over thousands of years, we built societies. We created laws. We developed science and art and music. We still remembered how to fight, but we chose when to fight and when to make peace." The Velnar student raised her hand again. "Do humans still fight each other now?" "Sometimes," Deho admitted. "We are not perfect. But we fight much less than we used to. We prefer to talk and find solutions. We prefer to cooperate. But we never forgot how to fight. We never forgot how to be predators. That part is still inside us." The class ended in uncomfortable silence. Students filed out quickly, whispering to each other in their various languages. Deho began packing up his materials. He felt tired. Teaching was harder than he expected. That was quite a first lecture. Deho turned. Professor Theln stood in the doorway. He was old even for a Velnar, and his fur had turned gray. He taught advanced biology and had been at the institute for 40 years. "Professor Theln," Deho said respectfully, "I was just being honest about human evolution." "You frightened them," Theln said. He did not sound angry, just sad. "Half of them will probably drop your class tomorrow. Should I have lied?" Deho asked. Theln walked into the room. His hooves made soft clicking sounds on the floor. He looked at Deho with his large, gentle eyes on the sides of his head. "Pray eyes, no," Theln said finally. "You should not have lied. But perhaps you should understand something, Dr. Kwan. Every species in this galaxy evolved without major predators. We never needed to develop weapons. We never needed to fight for survival against other intelligent beings. The concept of war is foreign to us. When you talk about hunting your own species, it sounds like madness." "I know," Deho said quietly. "Do you?" Theln asked. "Do you really understand how different you are? How terrifying your species is to the rest of us? We let humans join the Galactic Council because you seemed peaceful. You had laws and art and science. But now you are here, teaching our children about persistence hunting and tribal warfare. Some people are questioning whether that was a mistake." Deho felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting angry would only prove Theln's point. Instead, he said calmly, "My species has been peaceful for over 200 years. We have not started a war since before we reached space. We came to the galaxy with open hands, I know," Theln said. He sounded tired. "And that is why I am not asking you to resign. I am just asking you to be careful. Your students need to learn about different forms of evolution, but they also need to feel safe in your classroom." Theln left without waiting for a response. Deho stood alone in the empty lecture hall. He looked at his hands. These hands could type on a keyboard and hold test tubes. They could also throw punches and grip weapons. That was the truth about being human. He pulled out his communication device and called Commander Hajiwan. She answered immediately. Her face appeared on the screen, all sharp angles and military efficiency. "How was the first day of teaching?" she asked. "I told them we used to hunt each other," Deho said. Hajiwan laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "Well, that is one way to start the semester. Did any of them faint?" "Not yet," Deho said. "But I think Professor Theln wants me gone." "Theln is scared of his own shadow," Ha said. "Do not let him get to you. You are the best biologist on this station, human or otherwise. You earned your position." "Sometimes I wonder if that matters," Deho admitted. Hajiwan's expression softened slightly. "It matters. They need to understand us. Better they learn from someone like you than from their nightmares." After the call ended, Deho gathered his things and headed to his quarters. The corridors of Kepler 7 station were wide and bright. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved past him. Most of them gave him extra space when they walked by. Some did not even try to hide their nervousness. He was so tired of being the monster in everyone's story. But maybe that was the price of being human in a galaxy that had never known predators. Maybe fear was something he would have to live with. That night, Deho stood at the window of his quarters and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Home. A world where humans were not unique or frightening. A world where everyone understood what it meant to be at the top of the food chain. Daeho found a dead security officer in the corridor. The body was twisted in an unnatural position. Whatever had killed him had been fast and brutal. Daeho forced himself to look away and keep moving. He heard sounds ahead, metal scraping against metal, heavy footsteps, and underneath it all a clicking noise that made his skin crawl. It sounded like the warning rattle of a snake, but deeper, more mechanical. Daeho pressed himself against the wall and looked around the corner. What he saw made his blood run cold. The creature was massive, standing at least 8 feet tall. It had 6 limbs, each ending in what looked like blade hands or possibly weapons built into its body. Its skin was covered in dark armor plating that seemed to shift and change colors, camouflaging against its surroundings. The head was long and narrow with too many eyes, all of them glowing red. A Velnar student cowered in front of it. The student was young, maybe only 15 years old. She pressed herself against the wall, frozen with terror. The creature tilted its head, studying her. The clicking sound got louder. It was playing with her, like a cat with a mouse. Daeho looked around frantically. He had no weapon. He had no training. He was a scientist, not a soldier. But that girl was going to die if he did nothing. His eyes landed on a fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. It was heavy. It had reach. It would have to do. He grabbed it and ran. His feet made noise on the metal floor. The creature heard him and turned. All those red eyes focused on him instead of the girl. Good. Daeho swung the extinguisher as hard as he could. It connected with the creature's head with a solid thunk. The creature staggered sideways. Daeho had surprised it. Run, he shouted at the girl. She did not need to be told twice. She scrambled to her feet and fled down the corridor. The creature recovered quickly. It made a sound that might have been laughter or might have been anger. Daeho could not tell. It spoke through some kind of translator device on its chest. The voice was harsh and metallic. Interesting. You fight. The others just run or freeze. What are you? Daeho backed up slowly, keeping the extinguisher between himself and the creature. I'm human. The creature's eyes seemed to brighten. Human? Yes. We have heard of your kind. Predators like us. The only ones in this weak galaxy. What are you? Daeho asked, still backing up. He needed to keep it talking. By time we are Kravik. We hunt. That is our purpose. That is our joy. The creature took a step forward. Its movements were smooth and practiced. This galaxy is perfect hunting ground. So many prey species. So easy to catch. You are killing innocent people, Daeho said. His back hit a wall. No more room to retreat. There is no such thing as innocent. Only predator and prey. The Kravik tilted its head again. You understand this. I can see it in your eyes. You are prey pretending to be something else. No, Daeho said. I am a predator who chose to stop hunting. That is different. The Kravik made that laughing sound again. Chose? You cannot choose what you are. Join us, human. We could use hunters like you. Together we could make this galaxy into what it should be. A proper hunting ground. Daeho felt sick. Is that what humans looked like to the galaxy? Monsters who might join other monsters at any moment? Never, he said. The Kravik shrugged with 4 of its 6 limbs. Pity. Then you are prey after all. It lunged. Fast. So incredibly fast. Daeho barely got the extinguisher up in time. The Kravik's blade hand struck the metal cylinder, sending vibrations up Daeho's arms. He sprayed the extinguisher foam directly into the creature's face. The Kravik screamed and stumbled back, clawing at its eyes. Daeho ran, not away from danger this time, but toward the closest emergency station. There were tools there, maybe weapons. He heard the Kravik behind him recovering, coming after him. The clicking sound got louder and faster. It was angry now. Good. Angry meant careless. Daeho reached the emergency station and smashed the glass. Inside was a crowbar, a first aid kit, and a plasma cutter for emergency repairs. He grabbed the plasma cutter. It was not designed as a weapon, but it could cut through steel. It would hurt. The Kravik rounded the corner. Its armor had cleaned itself somehow. All those red eyes locked onto Daeho. You are more interesting than I thought. But you will still die, maybe, Daeho said. But you are going to work for it. They fought. It was not elegant or heroic. It was desperate and ugly. The Kravik was stronger and faster. But Daeho was human. He understood tactics. He understood using the environment. Every time the Kravik lunged, Daeho dodged behind equipment or support pillars. He made the creature work for every strike. And whenever he got an opening, he struck with the plasma cutter. Small burns. Little wounds. Nothing fatal, but they added up. The Kravik was bleeding now. Its movements got slightly slower. Professor Theln appeared at the end of the corridor. He froze, staring at the scene. Deho fighting a monster. Both of them covered in wounds. Both of them refusing to give up. "Get back!" Deho shouted. Theln did not move. He seemed unable to move, paralyzed by the violence in front of him. The Kravik noticed Theln. Its eyes lit up. Ah. More prey. It moved toward the old Velnar. Deho did something stupid. He threw himself at the Kravik's back. The plasma cutter dug deep into the armor between its shoulders. The creature roared and spun, throwing Deho against the wall. Pain exploded through his ribs. Something cracked, but the wound was serious. The Kravik stumbled. Black blood poured from the cut. It looked at Deho with something that might have been respect. "Good hunt," it said. Then it retreated, moving fast despite its wounds. Deho tried to follow but collapsed. The pain in his ribs was too much. Theln rushed over. He knelt beside Deho, his hooves clattering on the floor. "You saved my life. Why? Why would you risk yourself for me?" Deho coughed. It hurt. "Because that is what we do. Humans, we protect people, even people who are afraid of us." Thelon's eyes were wet. "I was wrong about you, about your species. I thought your violence made you monsters. But you use it to defend others." "We try," Deho said. "We do not always succeed, but we try." Explosions echoed through the station. Closer now. The Kravik were pushing deeper. Thelon helped Deho to his feet. "Can you walk?" Thelon asked. "I can try," Deho said. They made their way toward the emergency shelters. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of battle. Ha and her team were still fighting. Still holding the line, Deho's communication device buzzed. It was Ha. Her voice was strained. "We are pushing them back." They did not expect resistance. "They thought we would all just roll over and die. Are you winning?" Deho asked. "We are surviving. That is winning enough for now." Ha paused. "I heard you fought one of them. Are you okay?" "Broken ribs, I think. But alive, good. Stay alive." "That is an order." The communication cut off. More explosions in the background. Deho and Theln reached the emergency shelter. The doors were sealed, but they opened when they approached. Inside, hundreds of aliens huddled together in fear. When they saw Deho, bloody and wounded, their eyes went wide. "The human saved my life," Theln announced loudly. "He fought one of the monsters and won. Without him, I would be dead." The aliens looked at Deho differently now. Not with fear. With something else. Maybe respect. Maybe gratitude. Maybe just confusion that a predator could also be a protector. A medical officer rushed over to treat Deho's wounds. She was a Quilix, one of the bird-like species. Her 4 hands worked quickly, wrapping his ribs and giving him something for the pain. "Thank you," she said quietly. "My daughter was the student you saved. The Velnar girl. She is safe now because of you." Deho nodded. He was too tired to speak. The medicine was making him drowsy. He leaned against the wall and closed his eyes for just a moment. When he opened them again, hours had passed. The shelter was quieter now. People still looked scared, but not panicked. Thelon sat beside him. "They are gone," Thelon said. "The Kravik." Commander Ha's team drove them back to their ship. "They retreated an hour ago. Did we lose many?" Deho asked. Thelon's expression was sad. 43 dead. Mostly security personnel who were in the initial boarding zones, and the 12 diplomats on the shuttle. But it could have been much worse. Your Commander Ha said if they had another hour, they could have taken the whole station. Deho felt the weight of those numbers. 55 lives gone. Because the galaxy had forgotten what predators were. "What happens now?" he asked. Theln looked at him with his gentle prey eyes. "Now, Dr. Kwan, the galaxy has to face an uncomfortable truth. We need you. We need humans. We need predators on our side. Because there are worse predators out there. And maybe," Theln continued, "we need to stop being afraid of what you are. Because you proved today that being a predator does not mean being a monster. It means being able to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Deho looked around the shelter. At all the aliens who were alive because humans had remembered how to fight. He wondered if this would change anything. If the galaxy would finally understand, or if they would just become more afraid. 3 days after the attack, Ambassador Yoon Mirai arrived at Kepler 7 station. She looked tired. More tired than Deho had ever seen her. The weight of representing humanity in a frightened galaxy showed in every line of her face. She met with Deho in the medical ward where he was recovering. His ribs were wrapped tight and the doctors had given him something for the pain. It made everything feel distant and strange. "You have caused quite a political situation, Dr. Kwan," she said. But she was smiling slightly. "I just tried to save people," Deho replied. "I know, and that is exactly why this is complicated." Ambassador Yoon sat in the chair beside his bed. "Half the Galactic Council wants to give you and Commander Ha medals. The other half wants to put you on trial for using excessive force." "Excessive force?" "We were defending against an invasion, I know, but some council members cannot accept that violence was necessary. They think if we had just tried harder to communicate, the Kravik would have listened." Yoon shook her head. "They do not understand predators. They have never had to." "What is going to happen?" Deho asked. "There will be an inquiry, a formal investigation into the incident. You and Commander Ha will have to testify. Explain your actions." Yoon looked at him seriously. "Deho, they are scared. The whole galaxy is scared, not just of the Kravik, of us. Of humans because we fought back," Deho said bitterly. "Because you were good at it." Yoon stood and walked to the window. "They watched you fight. They saw how quickly you went from teacher to warrior. How easily violence came to you. It terrified them. Would they prefer we let everyone die? Some of them might. Or at least they would prefer a different solution existed, one that did not require humans to save them." She turned back to him. "But here is the truth. Intelligence reports say the Kravik have been watching Council space for years. This was just a test, a small raid to see how we would respond. And now they know we cannot defend ourselves," Deho said. "They know most species cannot, but they also know humans can." Yoon smiled grimly. "You have changed the equation. The Council has to decide now. Do they push humans away because they fear us? Or do they embrace us because they need us?" The formal inquiry was held in the main council chamber. Deho sat at a table facing a panel of 12 council representatives. All of them were from different species. All of them looked at him with mixed expressions of fear and curiosity. Commander Ha sat beside him, straight-backed and professional in her military uniform. She showed no emotion at all. Deho envied her control. The lead counselor was a Velnar named Counselor Realm. He was ancient, his fur almost completely white. He spoke in a slow, formal way. "Dr. Kwan Deho. Commander Hajiwan, you stand accused of using lethal force against unknown visitors without proper authorization or diplomatic protocol. How do you plead?" Ha stood. "With respect, Counselor, we were not dealing with visitors. We were dealing with an armed invasion. The Kravik destroyed a diplomatic shuttle without warning. They opened fire on civilian targets. They boarded the station with the intent to kill. We responded appropriately, but you gave no warning," another counselor said. "This one was from a species called the Therman. They looked like living crystals. You immediately assumed hostile intent. They killed 12 diplomats," Ha said, her voice rising slightly. "What more warning did we need?" "Perhaps it was a misunderstanding," the Therman counselor suggested. "Perhaps their weapons malfunctioned. Perhaps they were frightened and acted in self-defense." Deho could not stay quiet anymore. He stood wincing at the pain in his ribs. They were not frightened. They were hunting. I spoke with one of them. It told me exactly what they were doing. They view every species in this galaxy as prey. They kill for sport. The council chamber went quiet. Counselor Realm leaned forward. "You spoke with one? What exactly did it say?" Deho told them everything. About the Kravik's offer for humans to join them. About how they saw the galaxy as a hunting ground. About how they had been watching and waiting for the right moment to attack. When he finished, the counselors looked disturbed. One of them, a small floating creature that communicated through color changes, flickered rapidly in distress. "This is difficult to accept," Counselor Realm said. "The existence of a species that hunts other intelligent beings. It goes against everything we understand about civilization." "But it is true," a new voice said. Everyone turned. Professor Thelen walked into the chamber. He was not supposed to be there. This was a closed hearing, but no one stopped him. "Professor Thelen," Counselor Realm said. "You are not authorized to be here. I am a witness." Thelen walked to the center of the chamber. "I was there during the attack. I saw what the Kravik did, and I saw what Dr. Kwan did." "Please tell us what you saw," Counselor Realm said. Thelen took a breath. "I have spent 40 years teaching at the Institute. I have dedicated my life to understanding different species. When humans joined the Council, I was afraid. I admit this. I thought they were dangerous. I thought their violent nature made them unsuitable for civilized society. He paused. I was wrong. When the Kravik came, I was paralyzed with fear. I have never experienced violence. I did not know what to do, but Dr. Kwan did. He fought to protect others. He risked his life to save a student he barely knew. He even saved me, though I had treated him with suspicion and prejudice. Thelen turned to face the council directly. Honored counselors, we have built our civilization on peace. This is good. This is right. But we built it in a galaxy that had no predators. We never had to face real danger, now we do. And we are not prepared. What are you suggesting? The Thurman counselor asked. I am suggesting that we need humans. Not despite their nature, but because of it. They understand violence. They understand defense. They understand what we cannot. Thelen's voice grew stronger. If we push humans away because we fear them, we leave ourselves vulnerable to species like the Kravik. Species that will not hesitate. Species that will not negotiate. But if we accept human protection, what does that make us? Another counselor asked. Does it not prove we are weak? It proves we are intelligent, Thelen said. Every species has strengths. Velnar are excellent farmers. Quilix are brilliant engineers. Thurman process information faster than any computer, and humans are warriors. There is no shame in accepting help in areas where we are weak. The council chamber filled with whispered conversations. Counselors debated among themselves in dozens of languages. Daeho watched and waited. Finally, Counselor Reln called for order. This council must make a decision. Do we trust humanity with our defense, or do we continue to handle security through traditional diplomatic means? The vote took hours. In the end, it was not unanimous. But it was decisive. 29 counselors voted to authorize expanded human security forces throughout council space. 18 voted against. Counselor Reln announced the decision. By majority vote, this council authorizes the formation of a joint defense initiative led by human military advisors. Commander Hajiwan will oversee the creation of security protocols and training programs. Dr. Kwan Daeho will serve as a cultural liaison, helping council species understand human defensive strategies. After the hearing, Daeho found Ha outside the chamber. She looked satisfied but not happy. We won, Daeho said. We survived. Ha corrected. Winning comes later. Now we have to prove we are worth trusting. She looked at him. Are you ready for that? Daeho thought about his students. About Professor Thelen. About all the aliens who still feared humans but were willing to give them a chance. I have to be, Ambassador Yoon joined them. She looked less tired now. Almost hopeful. This is just the beginning. The Kravik will come back. We have time to prepare, but not much time. How much time? Daeho asked. Intelligence estimates 3 to 6 months before a major offensive. They will target population centers. Try to break our will to resist. Yoon looked at both of them. We need to teach an entire galaxy how to defend itself. How to fight. Can we do that in 6 months? Ha smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a soldier accepting an impossible mission. We can try. Daeho looked out at the stars through the chamber windows. Somewhere out there the Kravik were watching. Planning. Getting ready to hunt again, but this time the prey would fight back, because humans would teach them how. The galaxy had spent millennia believing in peace. Now it would have to learn about war. Not because war was good, but because sometimes to protect peace you needed to be ready for war. That was the human lesson. The one Daeho would spend the next months teaching, and he desperately hoped it would be enough. 5 months had passed since the attack on Kepler 7. 5 months of training. 5 months of preparing a peaceful galaxy for war. Daeho stood in a training facility on Velnar Prime, the homeworld of Professor Thelen's species. Around him, 50 Velnar students practiced basic defensive maneuvers. They looked awkward. Violence did not come naturally to them. Remember, he called out, you are not trying to attack, you are trying to survive. Create distance. Use your environment. The goal is to get away and find help. One of the students, a young Velnar named Kelm, was better than the others. He moved with purpose. He thought before he acted. Daeho had noticed him weeks ago and started giving him extra instruction. Good, Kelm, Daeho said. You are learning to think tactically. That is more important than strength. Kelm approached after the session ended. Professor Kwan, do you think we can really do this? Fight the Kravik? Daeho considered the question carefully. You will never be warriors like humans. Your species did not evolve for combat, but you can learn to defend yourselves. You can learn to support human forces. And most importantly, you can learn not to freeze when danger comes. Is that what happened to you? Kelm asked. On the station? You did not freeze? I was terrified, Deho admitted. But humans have an advantage. Our fear makes us move, not freeze. Millions of years of evolution taught us that standing still when a predator comes means death. Kelm nodded thoughtfully. I want to help coordinate defenses. Use strategy instead of fighting directly. Would that be acceptable? That would be perfect, Deho said. We need people who can think clearly during chaos. Come with me tomorrow. I will introduce you to Commander Ha. Meanwhile, Commander Ha worked with military forces across Council space. Human soldiers trained alien security officers in tactics and weapons. It was frustrating work. Most aliens struggled with concepts humans found obvious. Ha stood in a command center reviewing defensive positions around Velnar Prime. The planet was the most likely target. Home to billions of Velnar civilians, a symbol of Council unity. If the Kravik wanted to break the galaxy's spirit, they would attack here. Professor Thelen entered the command center. He had become Ha's unofficial advisor on alien psychology. He helped her understand how different species thought and reacted. How are the preparations? Thelen asked. Better than I expected, Ha admitted. Worse than I hoped. If the Kravik come with full force, we will lose thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. But we will make them pay for every meter of ground. Thelen looked at the tactical displays. So much death. So much violence. This is the opposite of everything my people believe in. I know, Ha said, and I am sorry you have to face this. But the Kravik do not care about your beliefs. They will come. They will kill. The only question is whether we are ready. We will be ready, Thelen said quietly, because you taught us how. The warning came 3 weeks later. Scout ships detected a massive Kravik fleet moving toward Council space. The size was staggering. Over 200 warships. They were not hiding. They were not being subtle. They wanted the galaxy to see them coming, to feel the fear. Ambassador Yoon called an emergency meeting of all human personnel in the sector. Deho and Ha attended via hologram, along with dozens of other human coordinators. This is it, Yoon said. The Kravik fleet will reach Velnar Prime in 48 hours. All forces are moving to defensive positions. Civilian evacuations are underway. She looked tired again. Exhausted. We have done everything we could. Now we see if it was enough. After the meeting, Deho found a quiet place to think. He looked at pictures on his tablet. His family back on Earth. His sister who died years ago in a conflict that should have been prevented. He had become a scientist to prevent more deaths, to build bridges between species. And now here he was preparing for the largest battle the galaxy had ever seen. The Kravik fleet arrived exactly on schedule. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 217 warships, each one massive and deadly. The fleet moved toward Velnar Prime like a swarm of predators. Deho stood in the Planetary Defense Center with Ha, Thelen, Kelm, and dozens of other coordinators. Screens showed the battle developing in space. Human warships engaged the Kravik fleet, while Council vessels provided support fire. It was chaos. The space battle was a delaying action. Ha had planned it carefully. Human ships used hit-and-run tactics, drawing the Kravik away from the planet, but there were too many enemies. Some Kravik ships broke through and headed for the surface. Here they come, Ha said quietly. All ground forces prepare for landing. Stick to your training. Support each other. Make every shot count. Kravik landing craft struck the surface in dozens of locations. They came down near major cities just as predicted. The hunters wanted prey. They wanted civilians. They wanted terror. But they found something unexpected. Organized resistance. Human soldiers in defensive positions. Alien security forces who did not run. Civilians who knew what to do and where to go. The galaxy had learned. The fighting was brutal. Kravik warriors were deadly in close combat. But human tactics neutralized their advantages. As forces used traps and ambushes, they fought from fortified positions. They made the Kravik come to them, then cut them down with concentrated fire. Kelm proved invaluable. He coordinated alien forces with calm efficiency, moving units where they were needed most. His voice stayed steady even when reports came in of heavy casualties. Deho monitored the battle from the command center. He saw patterns forming. The Kravik were following predictable strategies. They expected easy prey. When they met resistance, they became aggressive, careless, angry. I see it, he told Ha. They are getting frustrated. Pushing too hard into our kill zones. Ha smiled grimly. Good. Frustrated hunters make mistakes. She gave orders to spring the main trap. Human forces pulled back, appearing to retreat. The Kravik followed eagerly, scenting victory. They pushed deep into the city, right where Ha wanted them. Then the trap closed. Heavy weapons opened fire from multiple directions. Buildings collapsed onto Kravik positions. The hunters had become the hunted. In space, the battle turned as well. More human reinforcements arrived. Council vessels, armed with human weapons and using human tactics, fought with new effectiveness. The Kravik fleet began to break apart. The Kravik commander sent a message. It appeared on every screen in the command center. The creature looked battered. One of its arms hung limp. Its armor was cracked and scorched. Humans, it said through its translator. We acknowledge you. You are true predators. We were wrong to think this galaxy was easy prey. It paused. We withdraw. For now, but we will remember you. The Kravik forces retreated. They pulled back to their landing craft and fled to orbit. The fleet regrouped and jumped away, leaving wreckage and bodies behind. The command center erupted in cheers. Aliens embraced. Some cried. Some just sat down in shock. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had won. But Deho could not celebrate. He looked at the casualty reports coming in. 3,000 dead, 8,000 wounded, most of them human soldiers. Some were alien security officers. A few were civilians caught in the fighting. This is victory, he asked quietly. I heard him. She walked over and put a hand on his shoulder. Yes. Because the alternative was everyone dying. This is what victory looks like when predators clash. It is ugly, it is painful. But we are alive, Professor Theln joined them. His fur was singed in places. He had helped evacuate civilians during the fighting. The galaxy will never forget this day. Humans saved us, at great cost to yourselves. 6 months later, Deho stood in his lecture hall at the Velnar Institute. It had been rebuilt after the battle. Everything had been rebuilt. The station, the cities, the trust between species. His class was full. More students than ever before. They no longer looked at him with fear. They looked at him with respect, with curiosity, some even with affection. Today, he said, we will discuss evolutionary psychology, how environment shapes behavior, how survival instincts develop, and how different species can learn from each other. A student raised her hand. The same silver-furred Velnar who had asked about human eyes months ago. Professor Kwan, she said, I understand now why humans have predator eyes. But I have a different question. Can predators and prey truly be friends? Deho smiled. He thought about Ha, about Thelon, about Kellum, about all the beings who had fought together. Look around this classroom. You are prey species. I am a predator. We sit together. We learn together. We survive together. What do you think? The student smiled back. I think yes. If we choose to be exactly, Deho said. Evolution gives us instincts. But choice defines who we become. That is the lesson. After class, Deho walked through the station. Everywhere he saw changes. Human security teams worked alongside alien officers. Mixed species training groups practiced defensive maneuvers. Children of different worlds played together without fear. The galaxy had changed. It remembered now that predators existed. That danger was real, but it also remembered that some predators chose to protect instead of hunt. That violence could serve peace. A message arrived on Deho's device. It was from Galactic Intelligence. The Kravik had been spotted in distant sectors. They were hunting other targets now. Easier prey, but they avoided Council space. Word had spread across the stars. Humans hunt there. Deho looked out at the stars and smiled.